I went to a live event recently and ran into a friend from college. She looked at me and said, "You seem so much happier now." It struck me as just such an interesting thing to say because when I look back, I didn't really feel unhappy at the time. Now, to be fair, I had just lost my first husband to a car accident. And if you would like to hear more about that, you can go listen to episode 0 of the Happy Holy Mama podcast, and I will leave a link for that below this video. Being a 20-year-old widow didn't come with a handbook, and it was really not something that was pleasant to go through. I had no idea what I was doing. And looking back, yeah, I probably wasn't a very happy person. But not just because I lost my husband. I was actually unhappy. I was expecting everyone around me to provide my happiness for me, my friends, my family, my professors, the people at the Newman Center community that I was getting to know through all of this turmoil in my life. I was expecting everyone else around me to provide my happiness. But of course, at the time, I didn't know that because most of us have no idea that we're in charge of our own happiness. Nobody tells us these things, at least not in a very constructive way. I want to pause for just a second because if this sounds familiar to you and you want to learn how to stop expecting others to provide your feelings for you, then I want to invite you to stick around. I also want to invite you to please go and watch the Intro to Loving Your Homeschool Life, which is my free masterclass that is going to help you start doing this work for yourself. There will be a link for that as well below this video. My name is Emily Brown. I'm a certified Catholic life coach for Catholic homeschool moms who want to fall more deeply in love with their life and this call from God to homeschool their children. And I have learned how to become my own best friends so that I can stop expecting everyone else in my life to do it for me, which of course they can't. But at the time, I didn't know that. I was so accustomed to reading between the lines, and I had a very specific thing that I wanted people to say, a very specific tone that they needed to use, and a specific set of actions and a specific timing that my brain thought that they needed to follow, this formula that they needed to follow in order for me to feel loved and accepted and validated. And if they didn't, then I was devastated. I would judge them so harshly for not doing just exactly what I needed, not reading my mind. I never asked for what I wanted. I didn't even know how because I didn't know what I wanted. I couldn't put any words to it. I just knew that I needed someone else to help me feel better because I never learned how to do it for myself. And so I had all of these horrible, judgy thoughts about everyone around me. But of course, all of that was just reflecting back what I thought about myself. So all of these thoughts that I was thinking about myself, I just projected onto what I assumed they were thinking about me. And so that relationship that I would have with these other people in my life was actually really disconnected, but not because of how they were actually showing up, not because of how they were actually speaking to me or what they were doing for me, it was all in my thoughts. And honestly, I was a terrible friend. I don't beat myself up for it anymore because I know that God can write straight with crooked lines. I make amends as often as I can and as often as is necessary. But I also know that God has been able to use all of these years since then to be able to heal and bring about His glory no matter what happens. And so I really trust and surrender all of that. So when I'm considering my life now compared to how it was back then, what's the difference? My life, some would say, is considerably more stressful. I have 7 children that I homeschool full time. 5 of those children are in theater 5 or 6 days a week, depending on the season. I have one child who's a competitive swimmer and is in the pool 6 days a week. I have a 4-year-old who thinks he needs to be a big kid and is into everything. I'm an entrepreneur and I have a successful life coaching practice. Life is full. And again, some would say more stressful than it was even 2 years ago. But I'm not happier because I'm married to a great man. In fact, he's busier than ever before. I'm not happier because I have 7 amazing children. In fact, I'm even more isolated than I was before. Especially as a homeschool mom, we are choosing a path that is more isolating, a path that does not have me out and about seeing people on a regular basis. In fact, this home that we have now requires even more upkeep than any other home we've ever had. I'm not happier because I have solid friends who love me for who I am. In fact, I see and communicate with them even less frequently because of the lifestyle and the season that we're all in. I had all of these things even 2 years ago, and life is even more intense than it was then. And yet I'm so much more happier and content than ever before. So what's the difference? The difference is me. The difference is that even 2 years ago, I still expected everyone around me, even my friends, to provide my happiness for me. I was expecting my children to provide happiness for me by their behavior, by how they responded to me, if they, did what I asked right away or not. my happiness was dependent on all of that. My happiness was dependent on my husband coming home and rescuing me from the day. But now I know how to be my own best friend. I know how to manage my thoughts and feelings. I know how to be there for myself, to generate the feelings that I want to have and create the life that I want to have that I don't need to escape from or be rescued from. I know how to stop judging myself. I know how to love other people unconditionally. And in fact, now when I do see my friends, when I do communicate with them, it's so much more life giving because I can just be there unconditionally for them. I'm not expecting anything from them. I can just be there and listen and hear about their life without having to, create a need for myself by fixing their problem for them. And all of this is the fruit of being able to manage my mind. And I learned how to create the life that I want to have and to enjoy the journey on the way to heaven. That's the difference. That's how I can be a much better friend, more authentic and genuine and just myself, because I have learned what that means. And I'm not expecting everyone around me to tell me. In order to help you start doing this work for yourself, I have a few questions for you to ask yourself and to take to prayer. The first question is, what kind of friend am I? Do I have expectations on how I think, how I speak, or how I act in order to be loving and compassionate to myself? The next question I want you to ask yourself is, what kind of friend am I to others? Do I have expectations on how other people behave or think or speak to me in order for me to love them unconditionally? Whatever answers you come up with, whatever the Lord reveals to you in this time, please don't use against yourself. Please use it as a way of gathering data, of gathering information, so that you can then look at those answers and start to ask yourself, what in my life needs to change? What is it about my thinking about myself that needs to change so that I can love myself with unconditional love and compassion and mercy? And in doing that work, that will then allow me to be loving and compassionate and merciful and unconditional with those around me. And that is what's going to help me become the kind of friend I've always wanted to be. So, in doing this work, please don't use it against yourself. Please use it as a tool to help you uncover the areas that you might want to do some work on with the Lord. If you want to learn how to love yourself unconditionally so that you can be there unconditionally for other people and show up with that unconditional love that you've always desired to have, and be the kind of friend for yourself and others that you've always wanted to be, then I want to invite you to come join me in the Happy Holy Mama membership. This is my life coaching membership for Catholic homeschool moms who want to fall more deeply in love with their Catholic homeschool lifestyle and have support through all the seasons of life and homeschooling. For all the details of my program, please go to fiatlifecoaching.com/membership. And the link for that is also going to be below this video. And while you're down there, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell so that you can get notified every single week when I release life coaching content geared specifically to your Catholic homeschool lifestyle. I hope you have a fabulous week. God bless.